What can I say? I love the Nintendo GameCube controller. The GameCube controller. Good times. About 19 years old now. 19 years old. Jesus, time goes by so fast. And mine is still in pretty good shape. Well, this ain't my original one. The two, my purple and my black one, have disappeared and been sold a long time ago. But I managed to get this one back in 2017 at a pawn shop. Pretty good shape for one too. What hasn't been said about this controller? Mario's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, said this controller is the way of the future. Now, not exactly is the way of the future, but because of its popularity, despite its small library and lack of sales, you have seen the GameCube controller for the past 19 years. You've seen it on the Wii, even on the Wii U, but only exclusively for Super Smash Bros. And Pokken Tournament, but then onto the Switch. The nothing really keeps this, bad boy down. Yeah. It's definitely, before modern controllers, with the lack of a additional L trigger, no pushing, no R3 or L3. But yet, this controller has seen so many variations over the course of time. I've even collected a few of them, as you could see from my introduction to it. Well, let's move on to the next one. I'll show you some third parties and some second parties. Controllers that are made by a third party developer that are licensed and endorsed by Nintendo. Alright, let's move along. Well, let's let you take the backseat for a minute. Original GameCube controller, and let's bring out this behemoth. A GameStop GameCube controller. I've actually added this game grip to make it feel a little bit more authentic to the actual GameCube controller. Little modification I did. It doesn't require any tools besides a hot glue gun to keep it in place. This actually had a nub similar to the PlayStation 3's, but you gotta have that, GameCube feel to it if it's gonna be a GameCube controller. But I do like what they did with the C-stick over here. I like the indent, which makes perfect, use of in-game, like whenever you need to move the camera around at just the right amount. But my biggest gripe with this controller is its durability. Though it may be bigger than the Nintendo GameCube controller, it is quite cheap. That's why it was a lot more inexpensive than the official GameCube controller at the time. And this one I've had with me for a good amount of time, I would say. Probably around the time when I got the Wii. And these are the controllers they were marketing at the time with the original Wii, to kind of go together with the Wii. So they're like, oh, it works with GameCube games. And here's a white GameCube controller that you can use on your Wii. But of course they don't tell you, only really works with GameCube controllers and Super Smash Bros. Or any games that advertise that they work with the GameCube controller. Gotta read the fine print, people. But yeah, that's it. If you want to, let's look at a comparison real quick before I move on to the next slide. Yeah. Equidistantly, it's about, I would say about 10%, 15% bigger. Both are okay. This one is still the best for playing Super Smash Bros. And I'm gonna say Super Smash Bros. A lot, so let's just, get that out of the way. Yeah. And, yeah, the GameStop GameCube controller was one thing that I bought, I guess just for the fun of it, That's it. Let me see how this feels, and, well, be honest with you, not one of my favorite ones. It'll probably be on the bottom of the list because of the size. It does have a turbo feature, which I keep forgetting to mention. And it's really the only purpose you really need a turbo controller is for some fighting games. Not really good for Super Smash Brothers. There I go saying it again. But you know, some Mario Party mini games that get monotonous that you gotta tap the A button. This one wrestling game. There was a wrestling game that I used this for because it was WWE Day of Reckoning. By having the turbo function, getting up when you're on the floor was not an issue with this controller. That was probably one of the main selling points for me buying this controller, the turbo function. But yeah, I did have another one, but it recently stopped working last year, so I ended up, well, just chucking it. I am not one of those guys that know how to open these things. If I were to open this, well, that's it. I won't have it anymore. Can't put it back together. Anyway, let's move on to the next series. Now, I did have the Wavebird way back when I was younger. In fact, I think I actually had 3 of them at all times plugged into my Wii. Always ready to play GameCube games or any, you know, multiplayer games with my friends when they'd come over. Also lost that to the test of time. Or sold them. I don't really remember from here. But this guy has actually, you know, stuck with me for a while. Very similar to the GameStop one, but it does have double triggers here, and I've actually added this little Nintendo sticker from a midnight launch at Toys R Us way back in the day for the Wii, just for the fun of it. I was young. One thing that always kind of weirded me out was this D-pad. I never really liked it much. It served no function for me, but luckily a lot of the games I played didn't really use it. But the control stick was nice, C-stick worked, the buttons felt responsive, it's still pretty good. It actually comes with a wireless receiver that would either plug in and it'll act as a GameCube controller, or it'll plug into the Wii remote and it'll act as a classic controller. So it was a good workaround by Radio Shack for those games that you wanted to play with a GameCube controller, but you were just limited because, you know, Nintendo said you gotta play this game with a classic controller, or the third-party developer only had the classic controller in their dev kit. So, yeah, it's definitely a lot cheaper feeling. This GameCube controller, I'm actually holding it now for a good long time, and I'm like, wow, this was Nintendo's quality back then. And we're gonna move along. We're probably gonna get to some second parties from here on now. But yeah, that's the GigaWare GameCube controller. It's actually really hard to find. I've been looking for a second one because this one started acting up on me a little bit with the control stick. But anyway, let's move right along. More GameCube goodness. Here we go. These are the controllers that were first released around the time when Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U was released. Now, I don't know, this has to be a development issue, or maybe, and I never really like to eat when I'm playing video games. You know, you could even ask anybody. I'll switch off a game and watch YouTube, and then once I'm done eating, I'll go wash my hands, and then I'll use a controller. But amongst the rest, I mean, this is horrible. I mean, the Luigi one over here, I barely used. Not because I don't like Luigi, it's just I've always been a Mario fan. Very big Mario fan. See? Almost like new. No yellowing, no graying out. That's one of my biggest remorse. I'm probably gonna get a nub for this just to mask it. But for right now, let's just compare this guy to the GameCube controller. Again, this one is very, light, due to the fact it does not support Rumble. The Rumble has been adopted to the Wii remote to use. It does have full functionality with these extra ZL and ZR buttons, but no L3 or R3. So you won't be able to get those extra button presses in. The D-pad is nice. It's actually a lot bigger than the standard GameCube controller. And the buttons are very responsive in my opinion. A lot of people didn't really like this variation, but with the right adapter, and plugging this in directly to your Nintendo Switch nowadays, it actually will function pretty good. Again, despite not having this and this as a button input. You got the home button, you got the minus, you got the plus, everything will function as it should. And it also has turbo too, if you want to play Street Fighter or one of those type of games. I really don't see the use of turbo much in video games nowadays. But yeah, this was a very good one at the time, and of course, being a Super Mario fan, I grabbed it up. I needed this, I guess. But yeah, it's a nice controller. But not, I would say the shoulder buttons, a little squishy. Not my cup of tea. But overall, I enjoyed this. Oh boy, oh boy. Now this one is a behemoth. And it feels really good in your hands. I'm actually playing the new Animal Crossing game with this on my Switch. This is the Hyperkin GameCube controller. It was released for the Wii U. By default, it'll only work for the Wii U without the Mayflash adapter, which I did not have ready for this video presentation. But Google Mayflash Magic and S and see what comes up. Or maybe I'll put a link in the description. But anyway, it's a mixed bag. It doesn't have turbo. It has clicky buttons instead of squishy buttons from that other Mario controller, which can get a little annoying when I'm trying to, press these buttons, especially when I'm gaming late at night. It makes a little bit of noise. But it does have the, L3 and R3 input, unlike its predecessor, which, well, not really predecessor, but competition. And this controller, I would say, is the definitive way to play the Twilight Princess or Wind Waker HD games on your Wii U, considering the fact that they have not, at this time, been released for the Switch. I'm surprised. I think that would have been a perfect holiday item last year, or the year before that, but I guess Nintendo's biding their time. And, marketing with the Breath of the Wild and looking forward, and instead of looking back. And I guess the Wind Waker, not Wind Waker HD, sorry about that. The Link's Awakening game was just a nice little look back in nostalgia. But anyway, back to the controller. It charges by micro USB. The battery life on this, I'm going to say, is very, very fair. Sometimes I can go through an entire Animal Crossing session game and still have some juice left for the next one. And then usually that'll be in the morning before I go to work, and I plug it in to charge. Charges relatively quick, within an hour or so. But yeah, very responsive controls. Vibration, one of the best features on this, and with the Mayflash adapter in Pro mode, the Switch will recognize this controller as a Nintendo Pro controller. So you got all the bells and whistles, and I believe gyroscope, but don't quote me on this. I have not tested that. No HD rumble, but it will try its best to mimic rumble, the HD rumble, the best it can. But yeah, very good controller. It kind of feels like a hybrid Xbox and GameCube controller baby or something. I don't know. Love this thing. Alright. Now let's show the GameCube controller in comparison. There, right there. Yeah. Very different, but yet very familiar. D-pads are almost about the same size, too. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. And final one. Oh wait, no, not the final one. We still got two more left. Getting way ahead of myself. Well, Nintendo did it again and got me to buy yet another Mario controller. And, yeah. This is the, I believe it is by PowerA. No, PDP. My mistake. There's a lot of third parties back in the day, but I miss it when it was just Pelican and Mad Catz and the occasional Nyko. But yeah, this is another GameCube controller made for the recent Super Smash Bros. Game that came out for the Switch. An upgrade from the Wii one, which was made by Hori, actually. Look at looking back at it. Yes, very unprofessional, but I am an unprofessional mess. And yeah, there we go. Now, it feels great. Buttons are a little squishy, but clicky and quiet. I like that. You got an L3, an R3, a small D-pad, being very traditional to the original one. You got a home button, plus and minus, and a capture button. With the Hyperkin controller, you'd have to press the minus and plus button while on the Mayflash to emulate the capture button, which wasn't a big deal, but it's a welcome feature that this thing has a capture button on it for taking screenshots. The L and R buttons have been reworked, you know, to feel, I guess, more responsive. I mean, personally, I'm not a big fan of, what is it, these guys? These guys are a welcome touch, though. Squishy, yet clicky. But not too clicky, unlike the Hyperkin, which was pretty loud. Yeah, the button, very responsive, very close to the original. My only gripe with this, no gyroscope, and no, what is it, rumble. No rumble at all. And this thing connects directly to the system, so how much power do you need for a little bit of vibration here and there? It's like, unless it's a Nintendo Pro controller and wireless, you ain't getting rumble on the Switch. Well, let's move on to the last one. At first glance, this golden GameCube controller just looks like a mod of the Nintendo GameCube controller, or the Nintendo GameCube. But in fact, this is a controller that's been reworked for the Nintendo Switch, with player indicators on the bottom, the plus and minus that's been there since the Wii. You got your capture button, home button, a sync button, which directly connects to the Switch without any adapters, unlike the Horror controller, with two, four shoulder buttons, L3 and R3, and yeah, but the one downside and upside, as a lot of people complain about this, it does use AA batteries. Now, on the plus side, if the batteries die on this, you throw them in the garbage and you replace them, and you could keep using this controller for a very, very long time. If the battery were to completely wear out on any of the other wireless controllers I've mentioned, which I think I've only mentioned one here, but I do have others, but this video is just for GameCube controllers. And if those batteries would wear out, you'd have to throw them in the garbage. You would have to unscrew the controller, find the battery, replace the battery, and it's not a first-party item, so it'd be really hard to track down, probably more expensive. You'd be better off just buying a new one. Imagine having to throw away an entire controller that's actually still functioning. Forget about it. Yeah, so this controller is very, very similar compared to the other ones, to the original GameCube controller. Larger Z button, authenticity goes away just a little bit there, and the change with the larger D-pad button, which I think is a very welcome feature, because I do alternate between this one and my Animal Crossing gameplay, and the D-pad is much more responsive when I'm changing tools around. I've not yet fully played Animal Crossing with this, nor have I really used it in a long time, but looking at this controller, you know, reminds me of what Shigeru Miyamoto said, that this controller is the way of the future. And it's almost become my standard, because I can turn on my Switch with this, as long as it's in sleep mode. One thing people forget to say is, leave your Switch in sleep mode. It was meant to run that way. But if you power off your Switch completely, and then you try to turn it on with the controller, it won't respond to it. But, if you have your Switch in sleep mode every time when you finish playing it, and you push the home button, it will turn on the Switch. But yeah, my only other complaint besides the battery, which, you know, I do wish it was rechargeable, but knowing that this controller will probably last me a very long time, because it has disposable batteries, is not such a bad thing, is vibration. The one thing this thing could have did right is have vibration. Forget about amiibos. I'm okay without them. I have a right Joy-Con I can use if I need to use it as a amiibo receiver. And I believe this has gyroscope. Don't quote me on this, but I don't really use gyroscope. It's never motion controls have always been gimmicky to me, except for like the first era of the Wii games. So I like having my controller do all the controlling, not my hands moving around. Some games do it right, most games do it wrong. But if you don't care about amiibo support, vibration, or a rechargeable battery, this controller will probably replace your Pro controller on your Switch. It's also really nice, and it's gold. And I like gold things, and silver things, and shiny things, yeah. But, yeah, that's just a kid in me. But, yeah. Right now, you could probably get this pre-owned at GameStop. Relatively cheap. I bought mine pre-owned, and it was in good shape, and I still love it. And that concludes my GameCube review. 19 years playing with the same controller in different styles and variations, and yeah. And one thing I do regret is once I finally got the right adapter to play Kingdom Hearts with a GameCube controller, I already beat the goddamn game. So, oh well, Kingdom Hearts never came out for the GameCube like I wanted to when I was younger. So, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed this video and gained some knowledge with my crazy explanations.